नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Reading from the book A Second Chance, the story of a near death experience by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charanavinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 16, entitled Awakening Love of Godhead. We will continue to read Lord Krishna's Transcendental Pastimes. It is important to understand the difference between activities of bhakti and ordinary pious activities. Cultivation of knowledge and pious activities is on the material platform. Piety does not amount to liberation. A pious man is situated on the platform of goodness, but he remains a conditioned soul bound up by good reactions. One may even become a Brahmana, a very pious man, but that does not mean he has become a devotee. And sometimes a devotee appears to act against the rules of mundane piety. Arjuna, for example, was an exalted devotee of Lord Krishna, but he killed his relatives. Ignorant people may say, Arjuna is not a good man. Look, he killed his grandfather, his teacher, and his nephews, devastating the entire family. But in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 3, Krishna says to Arjuna, Bhaktosi me, you are my very dear friend. In the estimation of the material world, Arjuna may not be a good man, but because he is a soul surrendered to the desire of the Supreme Lord, he must be accepted as a devotee. While it is true that Arjuna killed his own kinsman, in the eyes of Krishna he remained a dear friend and devotee. That is the difference between a devotee and a good man of this world. A good man of this world tries to always act piously, for he knows that if he acts badly, he will suffer sinful reactions. But a devotee, although naturally a very good man, can act like a bad man on Krishna's order and still not fall down. He remains a pure devotee and is very dear to the Lord. As mentioned above, hearing Krishna's pastimes is very purifying, but such hearing has to be done with the right attitude. Some persons with material vision are very much attracted to Krishna's Rasa Leela, his pastimes with his cowherd girlfriends, but they do not appreciate his fighting and killing the demons. They do not know that the absolute truth, Krishna, is good in any and all circumstances. Whether he is enjoying in the company of his devotees or killing the demons, he remains the absolute truth, and therefore all his pastimes are equally purifying to hear. Generally, people go to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from professional reciters who are especially fond of describing the Rasa Leela. The people think, oh, Krishna is embracing a girl. This is very nice. At times, 10,000 people will gather to hear the Rasa Leela, and in this way the reciters earn a nice profit. Thus, people come to think that the Srimad Bhagavatam means the 10th canto, which contains the Rasa Leela and other pastimes. But what they don't realize is that there are so many important instructions in the other cantos as well. Lord Krishna, the Samam Bonam, is described in the 10th canto, and the other 9 cantos are especially meant for purifying the heart so that one may understand Krishna. Therefore, Therefore, we instruct everyone, first of all, to read the first nine cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam very carefully. Then one may read the 10th canto with proper understanding. Those who hear about Krishna's Rasa Leela and take it as an ordinary story cannot know Krishna in truth. The Rasa Leela is not an affair of lust. It is a transcendental pastime of love between Radha and Krishna. According to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam describing the Rasa Leela are not meant for ordinary persons. They are meant for liberated persons only. Therefore, these descriptions of the Rasa Leela should not be described to ordinary people, those who are advanced devotees, liberated from material contamination, can try to understand Krishna's Rasa Leela. One must not try to imagine the Rasa Leela of Radha and Krishna in mundane terms. But even though ordinary hearers of Srimad Bhagavatam do not know the deep significance of Krishna's Rasa Leela, because they hear about Krishna's pastimes, they become purified. And if they hear from authorized sources, they will be promoted to the transcendental devotional platform. The disease within the heart is lust, the desire to enjoy, and by hearing from authorized sources about Krishna's pastimes of loving exchanges with the gopis, the deep rooted lusty desires in the heart will be completely eradicated. Unfortunately, most people do not hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from authoritative sources. They hear only from professional reciters. Therefore, they remain materially diseased, full of lusty desires. Some become Sahajiya, pretending to be Krishna and Radharani and her gopi friends. In this way, they behave as if they were the supreme enjoyer. The pure devotee's business is to satisfy Krishna, and as soon as he chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he remembers how to do so. In the material world, the living entities are inclined to go astray. The mind and senses generally become attracted to material objects of desire. But one should draw one's mind to the eternal by the practice of bhakti yoga. Otherwise, one's mind and senses will force one to perform karma, activities for personal sense gratification. As soon as a person engages in sense gratification, he commits sin. Therefore, to avoid karmic activities which quickly entangle one in the process of repeated birth and death, one must take to the process of Krishna consciousness. Here, the Vishnu Dutas advise us in the same way. If we want to be freed from the reactions of karma, we should glorify the Supreme Lord 24 hours a day. That will purify us. Srila Sridhar Swami says, instead of taking to prescribed ritualistic ceremonies, simply engage your mind in describing or glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness or devotional service, there are nine processes. Hearing about the transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord, chanting about these, remembering these, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering Him respectful worship, offering Him prayers, becoming His servant, considering Him one's friend, and surrendering everything to Him. One who practices one or more of these processes of devotional service throughout his life is sure to remember Krishna at the time of death. That is the art of Krishna consciousness. We cannot abandon all activities and simply chant Hare Krishna. Therefore, we keep ourselves constantly engaged in practical devotional service so that our mind is fixed upon Krishna. Then, at the time of death, we are sure to attain total liberation from material existence. One who is not practiced in devotional service cannot all of a sudden chant the holy name of Narayana at the time of death. He must have prior practice in order to chant effectively. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Kirtaniya Sada Harihi. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 17, verse 31. One should chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. This is the best way of remembering Krishna in this age, and always remembering Krishna ensures our return home back to Godhead. As the Lord promises in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 8, अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसानान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन्. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, is sure to reach me. That Ajamila remembered Krishna was not accidental. He had chanted the name of Lord Narayana earlier in his life, but he forgot the Lord due to bad association. Nevertheless, the transcendental effect of his earlier practice was there at the time of his death, even though he was calling out the name of his youngest son, not intending to call for Krishna. Indiscriminate mercy. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 6, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. One who practices chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is naturally expected to chant Hare Krishna even when he meets with some accident. Even without such practice, however, if one somehow or other chants the holy name of the Lord when he meets with an accident and dies, he will be saved from hellish life after death. For example, if a person falls from a high rooftop but somehow or other cries out Hare Krishna, that cry will be heard by the Lord. Or if in our sleep we dream that a tiger is coming to eat us and we chant Hare Krishna in our sleep, the Lord hears that also. Although Ajamila indirectly chanted the holy name of Lord Narayana through the medium of the name of his youngest son, he at once remembered Lord Narayana. Therefore, in Vedic society, children are given God's names. It is not that the child becomes God. If we name a child Narayana, it is understood that he is Narayana Dasa, the servant of Lord Narayana. Similarly, we give our disciples spiritual names such as Vishnu Dasa, Vamana Dasa, or Krishna Dasa. That Ajamila remembered Lord Narayana by calling his son of the same name is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which says that the power of the sound vibration of the holy name is absolute. One attains freedom from all sinful reactions immediately upon recitation of the holy name, even if one does not understand the potency of the name. Whether one is chanting with devotion and reverence or without any faith, more sinful reactions are vanquished than a sinful man can commit. Krishna's name has such unlimited potency. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in Navadvip, the people used to imitate the Lord and his associates. At that time, the Lord was ruled. At that time, the land was ruled by Mohammedans, and sometimes the people would go to one of the government officials and complain. The Hindus are chanting Hare Krishna, dancing wildly, and thrashing their arms about. In this way, they imitated the Sankirtana of Lord Chaitanya. In Western countries, the onlookers also imitate our chanting of Hare Krishna when we go out to chant on the street. Even by imitating, however, they become purified. The holy name is so powerful that if someone derides us saying, Why are you chanting Hare Krishna? It is nonsense. He also gets spiritual benefit. The chanting of Krishna's holy name is like the sun rising in one's darkened heart. This universe is full of darkness, and only by Krishna's arrangement for sunshine do we see light. As soon as the sun sets, the world comes under the influence of darkness. Likewise, our heart is full of the darkness of ignorance, but there is a light to dispel the darkness and that light is Krishna consciousness. Due to impious activities, we are in ignorance. But to those who constantly engage in the service of the Lord with love and affection, Krishna reveals himself in the heart. By Krishna's special mercy, the devotees are always kept in the right of Krishna consciousness. Krishna knows everyone's intention or motive, and his mercy is especially meant for those who are sincerely engaged in his service. Krishna is equal to everyone, and as such, his mercy is unlimited. However, he is very much inclined toward his devotees. If one is prepared to accept his mercy unlimitedly, then he is prepared to give it unlimitedly. On account of our envious nature, however, we are not prepared to take his mercy. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, Krishna says, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Just give up all other so-called religions and surrender to me alone. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. He openly offers his protection, but we do not take it. Sunlight is also equally distributed throughout the universe, but if we close the door and do not come out to take advantage of it, that is our own fault. Sunlight and moonlight do not discriminate, illuminating the houses of Brahmanas while leaving Chandalas or dog eaters' houses in darkness. No, the light is distributed indiscriminately. Similarly, the mercy of Krishna is equally available to everyone, but it is up to each individual to accept God's freely distributed mercy. Naturally, Krishna bestows more mercy upon his devotee because the devotee has the capacity to accept that mercy through service. The process of receiving the causeless mercy of the Lord is to render more and more service. We should be very enthusiastic to render service to the Lord. That enthusiasm will come when we chant Hare Krishna with faith and determination. Someone may argue, I can see how chanting the holy name with faith is purifying, but if a man has no faith, then how will the holy name act? Here are some examples. If an innocent child touches fire, knowingly or unknowingly, it will burn him. Or, if we give medicine to a child, it acts even though he does not know the potency of the medicine or how it is acting. Poison also acts in this way. Similarly, the Hare Krishna mantra acts even though we may not know how or why. Even ignorant lower creatures are benefited when we chant loudly. This is confirmed by Srila Haridas Thakur. When one chants Hare Krishna loudly, every living entity, moving or non moving, benefits. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela, chapter 3, verse 69. The potency of the chanting of Hare Krishna is confirmed by the spread of the Hare Krishna movement. In countries where the Hare Krishna movement is spreading, learned scholars and other thoughtful men are realizing its effectiveness. For example, Dr. J. Stilson Judah, a learned scholar, has been very much attracted to this movement because he has actually seen that it is turning hippies addicted to drugs into pure Vaishnavas who voluntarily become servants of Krishna and humanity. Even a few years ago, such hippies did not know the Hare Krishna mantra, but now they are chanting it and becoming pure devotees. Thus, they are becoming free from all sinful activities such as illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. This is practical proof of the effectiveness of the Hare Krishna mantra. One may or may not know the value of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, but if one somehow or other chants it, he will immediately feel purified. Someone who takes a potent medicine will feel its effects regardless of whether he takes it knowingly or unknowingly. Another analogy, fire will act regardless of whether handled by an innocent child or by someone well aware of its power. If a field of dry grass is set afire, either by a man who knows the power of fire or by a child who does not, the grass will be burned to ashes. Similarly, a person may or may not know the power of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, but if he chants the holy name, he will become free from all sinful reactions. This is the correct conclusion of the Vishnu Dutas. Extended lease on life. The servants of Yamaraj are so powerful that generally they cannot be hindered anywhere. But this time they were baffled and disappointed in their attempt to take away a man they considered sinful. Therefore, they immediately returned to Yamaraj and described to him everything that had happened. They thought that it was unnatural that Ajamila, who had seemed eligible to be brought before Yamaraj, had been released by the Vishnu Dutas. Now Ajamila was fully Krishna conscious. By the divine association of the Vishnu Dutas, who were highly elevated Vaishnavas, Ajamila came to his full consciousness. He had been arrested, but then he had been released, and now he was free from all fear. This is liberation. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness by the association of Vaishnavas or devotees of the Lord, one becomes free from all fear. This position is eternal. Ajamila became fearless due to being reinstated in his constitutional position. At once he began to offer nice prayers to the Vishnu Dutas. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees and oceans of mercy. This is the life of a devotee. He is always offering prayers to other devotees. First he offers respects to his spiritual master, next to his grand spiritual master, next to his great grand spiritual master, and then to all devotees of Lord Krishna. Vaishnavas are also Krishna Dutas because they carry out the orders of Krishna. Lord Krishna is very eager for all the conditioned souls rotting in this material world to surrender to Him and be saved from the material pangs in this life and punishment in hellish conditions after death. A Vaishnava therefore tries to bring conditioned souls to their senses. Those who are fortunate like Ajamila are saved by the Vishnu Dutas or Vaishnavas, and thus they return home back to Godhead. Good examples of merciful Vaishnavas are the six Goswamis. They scrutinizingly studied all kinds of scriptures. They scrutinizingly studied all kinds of scriptures to establish the principles of Krishna consciousness. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar of devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami quotes many verses from different scriptures in support of the principles of bhakti. Why did he and the other Goswamis go to so much trouble and research? It is very laborious to research the Vedic literature in search of authoritative statements and then to assimilate them in order to support the Vedic conclusions. But the six Goswamis took up that laborious work out of compassion for humanity. Spreading Krishna consciousness, as the six Goswamis did, is the best welfare work for all humanity. There seem to be many other welfare activities, but their benefit is only temporary. The great welfare work of spreading Krishna consciousness undertaken by exalted personalities such as the six Goswamis of Vrindavan has real value for all men because it is based upon substantial spiritual truth. The Vaishnavas are just like desire trees or Kalpavriksha, for they can fulfill all one's spiritual desires, and thus they are also oceans of mercy or Kripa Sindhu. Ajamila heard the conversation between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas, and simply by hearing he was completely cleansed of all material contamination. Such is the purifying effect of hearing about Krishna. Anyone who regularly hears the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or any other Vaishnava literature gets the same benefit as Ajamila and becomes free of all material contamination. Ajamila was very grateful to the Vishnu Dutas and he immediately offered his respects by bowing down before them. Similarly, we have to make firm our relationships with the servants of Lord Vishnu. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalayo Dasa Dasanu Dasa. One should consider oneself the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Without offering respects to the servant of Krishna, no one can approach Krishna. After Ajamila had offered his respects to the Vishnu Dutas, he prepared to say something. He prepared to say something out of gratitude, but they immediately took their leave because they preferred that he glorify the Supreme Lord instead. Since all his sinful reactions had been vanquished, Ajamila was now prepared to glorify the Lord. Indeed, one cannot glorify the Lord sincerely unless one is free from all sinful activities. This is confirmed by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 28. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandvamoha nirmukta bhajante mam drudhavrataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the duality of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. The Vishnudutas made Ajamila aware of devotional service so that he might soon become fit to return home back to Godhead. To increase his eagerness to glorify the Lord, they disappeared so that he would feel separation in their absence. In the mood of separation, glorification of the Lord is very intense. Thus ends chapter 16 of the book A Second Chance, entitled Awakening Love of God. With this, we come to the end of today's reading session. We shall meet again in the next session and continue to read from the book A Second Chance. Thank you very much for joining. Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.